We're joined by the president of a manufacturer who says he can't find enough qualified workers to hire, and he's not alone. Joining us from Chicago, Cohen, president of Power Plant Services. His company is the largest U.S. independent repair company for turbine parts in power plants, nuclear, natural gas, and coal. Mr. Cohen, welcome to Bottom Line. Thanks for coming on today.
Great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
What types of workers are you looking for?
Well, we're really looking for the trade skills. We're looking for CNC machinists, estimators, really anyone involved in turbine parts and repair services, probably about 25 positions in all.
Why is it so hard to find qualified people? You would figure that with the unemployment rate still near 9%, that there would be a lot of people out there who are looking for work.
You know, Mark, it's a great question. You think there would be, but from a macro level, there's still relatively high unemployment. But once you really dive down into the various sectors, especially some of the skilled sectors, there's a real shortage of people.
Why do you suppose that is?
Well, I think what happens is during the downturn, probably from over the last 2 years, a lot of companies cut their production and their people to the bone. And then what happened is now manufacturers are trying to ramp up in a very quick fashion. And that's creating a huge demand on a relatively small supply of these trade professionals.
Well, how does that lack of candidates then affect salaries and benefits?
Well, it's really putting a lot of pressure for companies like ours that want to hire. I was actually just on the phone with a recruiter today, and he had a candidate teed up for us. Another company came in and offered that candidate double what we were going to prepare. So what you're really seeing is a huge upward pressure on salaries at this point.
Okay, so then just, you know, from your perspective, you lost what could have been a prospective employee, but since someone was willing to double his salary, in your opinion, what does that tell you about the economy, or what some are calling an economic recovery that's underway?
Sure. Well, it really looks like it has legs. I think a lot of employers, such as us, we were really tentative to hire people. But I think now everyone feels comfortable that the recovery is well on its way, and you're willing to aggressively go off and not only build for the holes you need, but companies are really looking to build for the future.
Right.
And they want to staff up because they think it's going to continue to increase.
Yeah, let's pick it up. We were talking about manufacturing and talking about who's hiring. There was a recent survey, I'm sure you're aware of it, by ATS and the Nielsen Company, and it sort of brings your experience and the experience of other corporate CEOs and presidents into focus. And we have a graph of that, and let me just lay that out for our viewers. 20% of more than 100 manufacturing executive respondents say they currently have more than 15 job openings on their factory floor. More than twice as many, 41%, anticipate having more than 15 such job openings within 5 years. What do these numbers tell you about the future employment picture here in the U.S.?
Sure. Well, you know, I think it shows what our company is experiencing. Many other companies around the nation are facing. It's a shortage of skilled workers, and I think employers and companies are going to have to get very creative in how they're going to fill those slots going forward if they're going to want to keep growing.
Well, it raises an interesting question then. How does this country solve the problem of a lack of experienced workers, particularly when we hear talk from Washington about cuts in education funding?
Sure. Well, really what we're doing is we're taking younger workers that are not trained and not skilled and really training them ourselves. So I think you're going to really see a bifurcation of two things. One, you're going to see private companies start to do more in-house training to get the skills they need. And then two, hopefully you're going to see government or the nation as a whole get a coordinated program with helping solve some of these lack of skill needs.
Let's switch gears for a minute and talk about what was happening today in Japan, that 7.1 magnitude aftershock. We should mention that you were also with Veridium. That was one of the world's largest contract manufacturers of precision parts for the nuclear and medical industries. What's most at risk in a nuclear plant from a mechanical standpoint when you have an earthquake or a strong aftershock like we saw today?
Well, certainly. Really, the critical component of a nuclear reactor is a containment vessel, and they've mentioned that a few times in the news. But really, it's a solid structure that contains the core of the nuclear fuel and the fuel channels, And that's the critical part that you don't want to get ruptured.
When they're building these plants, when the plans are actually put forth to try to build these plants, is there anything that can really be done to withstand a seismic event of this magnitude?
Well, I'll just, it's getting a little past my area of expertise, but I'll just give my opinion. I think it certainly can. I think what you saw in the reactors in Japan, they're a very old style, old design based on technology that's over 30 years old. I think the current crop of nuclear reactors that are being built, there's 16 proposed here in the U.S., there's almost 80, I believe, worldwide, use different technology and different safeguards that I think would make the reactors much more safe going forward in the future.
Okay, and before I let you go in our last minutes question I've been asking some of our other guests during this series for the remainder of this week, talk to us about what the label Made in the USA means. It's not your father's Made in the USA label anymore. What does it mean now and going forward?
Sure. Well, I think going forward we have to rely on some of the things that made this country great, which is really cutting-edge technology, innovation. I think if you look at the top, some of the top companies now, currently today, they didn't even exist 20 years ago. So I think America is a country that's continually reinventing itself, and those ideas, those creative, those cutting-edge solutions are things that we can export around the world.
Eric Cohen, the president of Power Plant Services, joining us from Chicago. Mr. Cohen, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Mark.